Hello and welcome to this week's This Is Media City. I am Stephen Chapman and today I'm joined on the couch by Colin, who's the Managing Director and founder of MediaCity production company Badger and Coombs. And today we'll be talking about his really unusual journey into the media sector. We'll be talking about his passion for working out of the north of England, and also we'll be talking about how he broadcast to millions during the COVID pandemic. All that coming up, so please don't forget to like, subscribe and comment to This Is Media City. Whenever I see someone from Badger and Coombs, I always think I need to have either more This Is Media City or 39 Pictures branded clothing, because you took one top off and then there was another one right underneath it. I feel inadequate. And before we get going, starting talking about Badger and Coombs proper and what you do and all the rest of it, and your home at Media City or your set at Media City, we always start with an icebreaker. Which is, it could be any question here. I'm shuffling, doesn't make any difference. I don't know what order they were in anyway. I just wanted to choose a card, any card. It could be anything, just for a quick, so we find a bit more about you. Nothing too revealing, you'll be glad to know. But
all right. Best piece of advice. That's a, do I hold up to the camera there? Best piece of advice. Just in media related or anything in life in general?
Well, I don't mind. What has been the best piece of advice you give or have been given?
Oh, there's so much. But yeah, I think just work hard.
Work hard.
Do not stop working hard. Don't think it'll come to you, because it won't. You have to work hard. Grit and determination. No matter how bad it gets, no matter how good it gets, work hard. I think that's the piece of advice I was given, and I have done that to the letter.
I think the other thing to do with that is people assume, businesses assume people are always thinking about them, and they've forgotten the clients and potential employers. Just because you're doing good things, they don't necessarily know it. So occasionally you do have to tell other people and remind them that you're here.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. We do find sometimes, yeah, we're doing great things, but we forget, because we're working so hard, you forget to say it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, I'll do you one more.
Okay, everyone's ready for this now. I can't answer this question, because I'm a former DJ and...
Oh, is it favourite
music track?
Yeah.
And I think we can talk about music a lot.
I want to talk about music a lot, yeah.
Because my original RTS award win was based around music.
Of course.
Favourite music track. That's a really hard thing to answer when you have such an eclectic music taste like mine. I will like everything, no matter what it is, from classical music to drill. I'm in the range.
I want to know what your DJ nights were like if it went from classical music to drill.
Legendary. It's the word that they used, or different. So yeah, I used to finish with I used to play like house sets and stuff like that as well, but I'd finish with My Boy Lollipop at the end of it, and everybody be sitting there, but then everybody go nuts for it as well, and they'd all be expecting that to come at the end as well. So, and Sister Nancy Bam Bam as well was another one that I used to play at the end of my set as well. So, but yeah, I like all sorts of music. I would say if I had to choose, I'm a bit of a jungleist as well, so I do like a lot of jungle, but I am a traditional Gen Xer, so house music all night.
Fair enough. Before we talk about music and your RTS award
for
winning
best
shows.
Digital creativity.
Let's talk about Badger and Coombs to start with, because just tell us a bit about how you came to be and what you actually do.
Yeah, of course. So I had a midlife crisis about 10 years ago, because I'm 50 years of age. And obviously I'm not good looking enough to go chasing after blondes and ride motorcycles and all that sort of stuff. So I thought, right, I'll decide I'll go down a different route, and I'll retrain. And I had lots of friends who worked in the media industry, and they always seemed really happy. Everything's great in the media industry, and everyone's really happy, and they do really cool stuff. And I used to be a rugby coach, and I used to watch the Six Nations and things like that, and I thought, I could be a really good TV director. I could cut to the right shots at the right. I knew nothing about the media industry, so I thought, right, I'll go back to education. And I came. My wife was working for Peel at the time. She was based here at MediaCity, and I thought, wouldn't it be great for me to go to MediaCity every morning with her in the car and save on fuel and go back to study at Salford University and stuff like that. So I wrote a few letters and I applied to come back to Salford Uni, and I got on the TV and radio course. And straight away I'd realised that I was old in the room that I was in, and I realised as well that I needed work experience and I needed to get out into industry straight away. So I fast sort of realised that the degree wasn't the all be all and end all of what I was doing. It was one thing, but it wasn't as important as the industry experience and stuff like that. And I thought, well, being at MediaCity, I'm in a good place for the experience and connecting myself to industry. But I was finding it hard to get into the BBC and places like that to do the work experience. So I started writing lots of letters and found myself working down at Engage Sports Media in London, down in Farnham in Surrey, doing total rugby for Sky Sports within a month of me, 2 months of me starting my degree. So a first year student, old. So I think I got chosen because I was less risk as well, because I'd had all the experience of life beforehand as well.
Was it Sale Sharks and things
Sale
like that?
Sharks, so great research, brother. Sale Sharks, I worked at Manchester Airport Group as a data analyst, support technician and an IT designer. I used to design IT systems for networks and stuff like that. And lots of weird life experiences.
Life experiences called,
so that had nothing to do with the media industry. And so I ended up cutting. I'd never edited on Final Cut Pro either at the time, but I got given it and go, right, here's a package we've been desperately wanting to do on Panamanian rugby. Can you edit this package? It needs to be 3 minutes long. They speak Panamanian, so here's the transcript in English. Cut that for us, will you? And I was like, what? I have no idea what I'm doing here. So, and then luckily they kind of showed me the ins and outs of the literally the in and out bit, and then off I went and cut this package for this excerpt in Sky Sports, and they asked me to come back again the week after. So they were like, look, we come and do it now for German rugby and all this sort of thing. So, and it was great because I was kind of doing all this stuff, and I was part of. I got a junior production credit and everything like that, and I was like, actually, this is where I'm going to do all my learning. This is where I'm going to get all my experiences and stuff like that. And then what happened was, I know this is a long, this is like a short podcast here, guys. It's got to be snappy, I know. But once I get going,
these 30-second TikTok snippets.
Sorry about this. I'm trying to give you context and all this. So then I got into this, and then I got recognised by one of the professors that I was engaging, because I was bringing other students along all these other work experience opportunities around Manchester and all this with me, and they were getting these really good experiences and connecting talent to industry. I found straight away that you can't bring talent into an academic institution. You have to go and take the academic institution into industry. So we were doing that, and I got paid as a consultant to do that whilst I was studying at Salford. So I worked as a consultant for a while, and then it sort of grew. So obviously, to set up a consultancy, I had to create a company to do that. So I created Badger and Coombs. So
how do you come up with
How
Badger
do I
and
come-
Coombs? Because
so-
your name isn't Coombs.
strap yourself in for a creative journey of knowledge share. So basically, I looked at all those other media companies out there and I thought, how do they name themselves? So then I was looking at Lion Eyes, Kingfisher, Nine Lives. You know, they all seem to be animal related. You know what I mean? So I thought, right, it needs to be an animal. So I need to call my media company an animal name, right? So then I started. Like Tiger Aspect. So there were all those animal names are in there, and I thought, right, I need an animal that works really hard and badgers away at things. Light bulbs went off, and I was like, right, badger. And then I thought, right, I need to make it sound like it's been around forever. It's established, it's playful yet serious, it's kind of youth and engagement and stuff like that. So I started thinking about law firms and accountancy firms that are like Smith and Stevens and McKevitt and you know what I mean, those type of things. And I thought, right, I know what the font style needs to be and all that sort of stuff. So then I started putting words into a random word generator online, looking for something that was like mountainous and huge and hill and established and all that sort of thing. And this word coombe came up. So I was like, what the hell's a coombe? So I started looking into that, and basically it's normally a valley to the sea. It's like you think about Ilfracombe and High Wycombe, and it's kind of like where a stream or a river has
Yeah.
been or something like that. And I was like, oh, brilliant. Fishes to the sea, you know, that talent pathway to the sea is perfect. So then this Badger and Coombs thing sort of like worked, and I was like, that's the name, that's great, and here's the logo, it's perfect. And then I went to B&Q looking for a colour, and I thought, right, I need it to look like it's royalty and established, and of course purple is a premium brand colour. So I just found this purple on the shelf at B&Q, liked the look of the purple, got a Pantone reference card, found out what it was, and then did my tertiary colours and found my 4 colours around it and my complementary colours. And I went into a right creative deep dive into it. But there you go. So I didn't wrestle a badger and had that, but I know it sounds a bit dull, but from a creative, there is a creative kind of line to coming up with it, basically. So yeah,
That's impressive. Don't ask me how I came up with our name.
39 steps. It didn't take him 39 steps to come up with it. That's the key thing. But the other thing with Badger and Coombs is this side bit came off it all, which was the badges. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, let's get the badges to look into it. If you had the badges, check it, and that sort of thing started happening. And then obviously the set is where they live, and it's all these little things. And then we found out that if you are very good at cricket in regards to knowledge, you are a cricket badger. So,
and they are a big piece of work for you guys as well, isn't it?
Yeah, we've just signed with the ECB as well. Actually, hot news off the press. We are now looking after the ECB's digital output over the summer, and we're now looking after Worcester Cricket, and we've been doing some work with Leicestershire Cricket as well. So yeah, we're growing in the cricket space. So and the sports space in general. But the Badger thing, it's just all a little bit too coincidental. So if anybody wants to talk about how the universe and the galaxies align, maybe that is an evidence of that karma hitting home.
And when you started out, you've done a lot of music because obviously you've got a love and background in music. You've done a lot of sport again because is those your big specialties because of your background?
It's a good question. I'm not sure actually whether we've stumbled into that opportunity.
Because you do a lot of rugby, I think, cricket. What else do you do?
Football. Yeah, football. I'm desperate to go into other sports. We've actually had a conversation with somebody about looking at e-scooter championships.
Okay.
And things like that. I don't know how that will unfold, but you know, there's a lovely world of strange sport out there as well, and new unfolding sports and stuff as well. So, the thing I like about sport the most is that it's a lived experience. It's tangible, and live music's the same. You can't get that on catch up. You can't get that moment on catch up. You can't relive that moment in the same way as if you're actually there living it in the space. And I think when you look at digital immersive media experiences, and what we mean by immersive media experience is not wearing the goggles. A lot of people think when you talk about immersive media, it is about wearing the kit, but it's not. It's about interacting with the content. It's about influencing the direction and the narrative of live broadcasts. And we'll talk about United We Stream, I hope, at some point. But that was a classic example of giving the audience and giving the media consumers steer and direction of influencing the broadcast. So live does that really well. And I think a lot of times we talk to a lot of our clients about doing a live broadcast, and MediaCity are doing more of these with us as well, because they're one of our clients as well, where we can create real-time interaction. And that creates, I mean, we'll go into alternative media theory another time because the podcast is only short.
We haven't booked you for the day.
Yeah, so if a special coming up soon is alternative media theory. Yeah. But basically, when you give ownership,
spin-off show.
A spin-off show, yeah. When you give ownership to an audience, they feel more connected to the content, and they have an influence over that content. It becomes more trusted, and it becomes a part of that journey. They feel that they are part co-creators of that content. So for a brand, if you want to attach a brand to that, it becomes so much more powerful, and it has more tangibility around the value that it gives back to that brand, and vice versa to its audience and its media consumption people. So
we had a client their big thing was owning the conversation, and it's kind of that, isn't it? It's the second screen adding extra dimension to what is your main watch, I suppose.
Yeah, so if you think about, we've done it with the cricket where we've mic'd up a player in the outfield, and Sky do that all the time. But what we've done differently is that we've brought a fan who sat at home watching the game over Skype at the time it was, and Zoom, into the broadcast to talk to that player directly in the outfield during the game. We did that 3 years ago, and we've been researching around to see who else has done something like that, and nobody has. And the big broadcasters probably won't want to do that because it's very risky.
It's hugely risky.
Yeah.
What if the fan's really annoyed with what they've just done?
Well, the fans can tell them, and that's the beauty of it. That's that realistic, authentic tangibility in the broadcast that you get in a digital space that you don't necessarily get in highly overproduced broadcast media. So that's the point. The broadcast and the Ofcom rules and regulations around inciting violence and all that kind of stuff is that you don't want it to kick off between a sports player and a fan. But in some instances, what makes sport engaging? It's accessibility. And if you look at the difference between rugby and maybe football, football is so inaccessible in regards to the fan base connecting to those stars, whereas rugby, the players, and cricket as well, to be fair, those players will walk the perimeter pitch after a game, shaking hands with the fans, talking to them, signing autographs, right after a game of rugby, win or lose. And that accessibility is key. It happens in the world of rugby, so it should really happen digitally in a broadcast. Do you know what I mean? And it's funny, and you look at it now, and especially women's sport now, is that you will look at England female rugby players doing TikToks after a game of rugby, and those old-fashioned heads are going, why is those two opposition players, like it was a Wales and England player, they were doing a TikTok, all the fans behind them knew exactly what they were doing, they got involved in the TikTok and joined in, huge traction on that, but all the old heads and the stuffy heads go, they shouldn't be doing that, they've just lost a game of rugby, why are they doing that, and all that sort of thing. But actually, know your audience, and your audience isn't, and it's about knowing who they are. And it's funny because I feel sometimes the growth of women's sport is down to a few old heads that don't understand it, and they don't understand how to give it the freedom in the digital space that it desperately needs.
Yeah. If you look at like Premier League footballers versus WSL footballers, the difference in how they interact online is
massive. Massive, because we're going through a transitional phase in the world of digital broadcasting at the moment when it comes to sport in that space entirely, which is there's a very famous American called Ilona Maher who came over to the UK to play 15-a-side rugby for Bristol because the Women's World Cup's coming up this year. She brought 4 million Instagram followers with her to the Bristol brand. The Bristol brand increased its ticket sales. They had to change venue, and then we were called by Bristol and the PWR to go down to Bristol and broadcast that game to America. So in the digital space, it didn't go out on TNT, it didn't go out on Sky. It went directly to the Rugby Network in America, and it went to the YouTube channels, and it got a huge audience. And nobody would have known that. Do you know what I mean? Outside the traditional, out in the traditional world, nobody would have seen that. Whereas the audience wanted it, sat in that space. And that's the thing, is that at the moment, if you look at broadcast rights and trying to sell women's sport, for example, the audience isn't there on TNT Sports and Sky Sports for it yet. You just haven't got the value in that audience to sell it for that price.
Yeah.
So what you need to do is take it to the digital space and broadcast it there, grow the audience like Mr. Beast does with his audience. He can sell burgers to an audience that never came to him for burgers in the first place. So you can do the exact same thing with women's sport, for example, or any brand. Build the audience in the digital space as a marketing exercise, not as a broadcasting exercise. And this is where it's very difficult for people to understand there's a difference. And they're like, but it's going to cost us hundreds of thousands of pounds to broadcast this live. No, it's not. It's a marketing exercise we can do in the digital space. And because of the technology that we use and our skill sets, we can do it very, very cost effectively.
I still think there's, even though we shouldn't have it, there's still I want to be on TV, or it'd be great being on Sky, even though you can get 10 times as many viewers, or you can reach the global audience through online. So
we did Lancashire Cricket, and we were creating this Lancs TV brand for Lancashire Cricket. They're a sports club. They're not a TV broadcaster, but they are now dealing with broadcast rights conversations and things like this. They broadcast to a subscriber channel in India called Jio. So we help push that to this 24-hour television channel in India. The subscriber channel for Jio is 500 million subscribers. So that's where that lives. You know what I mean? So that world exists out there, and it's there already. Do you know what I mean? And we were doing a job last year. I think we were doing a 4-day county game against Surrey, I think it was, and Sky Sports came with a couple of commentators and a bit of kit to talk back to Osterley in London, and we ran that broadcast for them. So although it was predominantly designed for a digital space, it ended up on TV. So and we can do that anywhere. We can flick a switch in our stream server that sits here at MediaCity, as it happens.
Yeah, in your set.
And we can send that feed anywhere in the world to any broadcasters. So, pretty cool. And that's the beauty of it. You build the audience, and you build the product and build the brand in a cost-affordable digital space, and then you can sell it to the broadcasters. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then that's when it becomes commercializable even more. Then you can start to put advertisers on it and all that sort of thing. But so straight away, if you're trying to connect an audience and build an audience, build it as a marketing exercise first.
How much, because I know we talked about the interactivity, the digital, the streaming and stuff, how much, it sounds a weird question to ask, how much did COVID help move that switch? Because it was a big deal for you.
So yeah, this nice little segue to United We Stream conversations. So we were able to react and be adaptable very quickly because we weren't bogged down by this behemoth of processes and rules and regulations and all this sort of thing. The BBC obviously couldn't react like we did. We were a team of 4 people at the time during COVID, and that's then when we ended up getting asked by Andy Burnham and Sasha. They were recognised. To be fair to Andy Burnham, and actually we talked to Andy about this on my podcast, which is my Badgering podcast. If you've check him out. Badger MCR on all socials. I'd get told off if I didn't do that, you see.
Yeah, well, people are worried because they haven't seen your logo.
I know, yeah. So, but we were talking to Andy about it, and what was good about this was that they recognised very quickly that the audience to stay at home, the audience that they wanted to stay at home, didn't want to stay at home, but recognised very quickly that to communicate to that audience at 6 o'clock and at 9 o'clock and at 10 o'clock on the news channels, they're not going to watch that. So we need to engage this audience in a different way. And so they said, look, can we live stream some things that they're going to connect to a lot better? And out in Berlin at the time, there was a project called United We Stream, where they were broadcasting empty clubs. So Berlin is like the uber central for house music, everybody. If you've not been there, get there. It's cool. So some clubs you shouldn't go into, but some you should.
Yeah, do a check beforehand.
Oh yeah, check. Yeah, because some of them are going to open your eyes more than others in Berlin. But there's some great stuff out there, and they were broadcasting this empty space. These are famous clubs in Berlin, with just the DJ there, and they were broadcasting these to audiences that were engaging with all this stuff really, really well. So Sasha got in touch with them and said, look, can we do a version of that here in Manchester? And they were all for this global network in United We Stream, which was
Sasha Lord,
yeah.
So nighttime
economy advisor. Yeah, he's now the chair of the Nighttime Association. Yeah. So he doesn't do the Manchester stuff anymore. He's national now. So, but there was a great opportunity to bring that project to here. So they asked us, can you do it? So what we did is we found the Bury Met over in Bury, get it right, and we took it over and we installed a gallery in there and a load of cameras, and we invited acts to come down in there. So during COVID, during lockdown, we were having a great time because we were travelling in and out of the Bury Met. Sometimes we'd go to restaurants and places around Manchester because there's nothing better than seeing and trying to get a message across in the narrative of how destructive COVID was to business. When you look at a chef in an empty restaurant doing a cook-along, and having those conversations with that chef about how the impact of his business, and having a shot of an empty restaurant and him right at the back of the restaurant in the kitchen going, yeah, it's killing me. You know what I mean? That message got across, you know what I mean? And we raised a load of money for those charities and organisations and stuff. But what was really good was it was a very realistic, tangible experience for the people at home to share with the artists who also were performing to an empty room, but were performing to millions of people across the whole world at the time. So we engaged. So you think about a full club, we were still able to create that experience by putting on the back screen at the Bury Met hundreds of people on Zoom cameras and things. And we one of the big things we did the Hacienda nights and stuff like this. Millions of global audiences. For New Year, we followed the New Year around the world. So we started over in New Zealand or wherever it was, and we followed New Year around. That digital creativity that we won the award for was all about how do we leverage technology and how do we leverage a situation that how can we bring all these things together, do it with just 4 people as well. That tangible connectivity back to the audience was key, and it came to a head when we had the anniversary of the Manchester Arena bombing, and there was the Survivors Choir. For those that don't know, the Survivors Choir get together every year, and it's a very cathartic experience for them. They get to support each other in that moment, and this year in particular they weren't going to be able to do it because of lockdown and distancing rules and all that sort of thing. So a lot of quick phone calls were made, and we spoke to Media City and we said, look, can we bring down 80 people to the piazza? We'll separate them to 2 or 3 meters separation between each one of them. We'll get Kath Tilsey to come down as well and sing alongside them. So we did this thing where we had Mel C DJing in the evening, and during the day we went and filmed them singing a few songs. I think Don't Look Back in Anger was one of them as well and stuff, and we flew the drone shot around them, and we had this open space, the BBC ITV, we were all down filming it and stuff like that, and we created this moment that you would never have been able to do without this digital creativity and this urge to make things happen. And again, one of the best things about MediaCity, I'm not saying it's the only best thing about MediaCity, but the best thing about MediaCity, that it is in the north, and in Manchester and Salford and the Greater Manchester region, we do things differently up here. And that came through at that moment, and it's continued for Badger and Coombs and for MediaCity as well. It's continued to develop that we do things different up here. London couldn't do a United We Stream, Brighton couldn't do a United We Stream. All these other places tried and they just couldn't do it. And it was only the Manchester that was able to do it. So.
Manchester, the beautiful thing about Manchester, Greater Manchester, includes Salford, is that when you're doing something which is important, the whole city seems to come behind you. Many in a different life, I formed Manchester versus Cancer with Andy Rourke from the Smiths, and we were telling bands to turn up and saying, look, there is no rider, you're not paying for anything, and speaking to OB companies and lighting companies and staging companies and everyone saying, what deal can you do, and phoning up the arena and saying, chances are for freebie, things like that. But everybody was kind of going, yeah, we can do this, we'll do it, even though you're a bunch of guys and it's only 4 months away and this ain't going to happen. We could have never done that in any other city.
I'm so glad that I came up here all those years ago. Ended up kind of getting my first attempt at doing degree stuff wrong, and that's when I went down that route. But I absolutely, fell in love with the North, fell in love with a Northerner, who's now my wife and all that kind of stuff. So, but I'm glad, and it's had me doing some amazing things up north. Like, we reacted to the Hillsborough Law rally as well during lockdown, and we were able to bring together loads of people from different walks of life to talk about this Hillsborough Law. It was based off the back of the Anne programme, the Anne drama that ITV were showing at the time, and we were able to bring Theresa May and Gordon Brown into a remote connection back into this rally and be part of it, and we had Kenny Dalglish and Peter Reid and lots of other people involved in telling their stories and stuff, and we did it out at the People's Museum in Manchester. And again, it's just another reaction to a situation that we could do in the North. The North, especially Greater Manchester, has one of the highest digital talent pools in the country, probably second to Cambridge or second to London. We are up there in regards to this talent that we have in the North. It's phenomenal, and again, we don't shout about it enough. That's probably one of our problems. We probably need to tell London, or people who are clever down in London, get up north, man. Come and live up here. It's cheaper, right, for starters, to live up north. It's such a huge growth place, the North. I mean, you just look at the skyscrapers that we've got popping up around Manchester. But the biggest thing about MediaCity is that it has this growth plan, and it is going to grow. It's going to become massive. Get involved in it and get up here now, because there's a lot of people up the North that are going to have all those jobs, and they're coming, We
were speaking to a guy who set up ITV label Shiver a while back, and on the podcast, and he explained to me sadly after we'd finished recording, the reason they called it Shiver was because all the London executives came up to say it's cold up here. Anyway, a sidebar. But when I was first writing about MediaCity landing here and there was so much excitement. It was, the BBC are coming, ITV, will ITV come here? Could MTV be there was all this excitement, this buzz, this roll, this people going, this energy. We kind of dropped away a bit in the middle. It sounds like we're in that second phase. Peter Salmon on a previous podcast called it his phase 2. But this phase 2 isn't BBC, ITV, Channel 4, Viacom, whatever it is. I think it's the younger, funkier, exciting digital tech companies like yourselves, and the next generation iteration of media. Is that?
Absolutely. If we take a look at, it's quite interesting, this is, you take a look at how the world of media has grown. Let's go back to the 1800s, kids, right?
Is this another TikTok 30-seconder?
This is another TikTok gold nugget. When you look at Broadcasting House in London, that was designed for the radio age. Television Centre was designed for the television age. You can argue that Media City has been designed for the digital age. And that's the point, is that this is the place to grow a digital, have a digital growth strategy or whatever your business is. And it doesn't have to be a media business. If you were a finance company, a fintech or a health company or whatever you're, a law firm, for example, like H&F, if you want to grow your digital growth strategy, come and do it at a digital centre, and Media City is that digital centre. So I saw massively innovation, the growth and innovation and all that sort of thing. This is the place to have it, because all those brains, all those creatives, all those digital creatives are here right in this pot, in this place. So yeah, huge opportunity.
Every marketing team across every company in the world is saying we need more content. So why not come to the space which can create it all for you? We've got this new space out there which is going to be freelancers and exciting startups. Just come in, have a look. You can kind of get hold of it, can't you?
It's quite funny when you look at, a lot of people think that ITV and the BBC compete against each other, but in a lot of senses they work together as well. And I think if you look at a sports organ, I'll go back to sport with it. Cricket teams and rugby teams are against each other on that field of battle, whatever. But rugby as a sport, or cricket as a sport, they all collaborate with each other to get the sport elevated. And it's the same for us here at Media City. We need to elevate the digital capabilities of media, consumption behaviour. The future of consumption habits and things like this over the next 5 to 10 years is going to be phenomenal. Bespoke media experiences, object-based media methodologies, all of these things are coming fast. And these things have been around for years as well, but they're coming fast, and it's going to change the way that we consume content. That you need to be in a hive of activity to do that, and you're not going to be able to do that with your traditional marketing methods. And a lot of marketing companies have either fallen to the ground or they've changed the way that they do things based on understanding how that works. Yeah, absolutely.
And the future is definitely about collaboration. I mean, we both run production companies. We both specialise in music and sport, arguably. So we should be kind of fisticuffs against each other. But I've been to your office to talk about potential projects together. And I think the whole of this centre is about how we're greater than the sum of our parts, aren't we?
Yeah, I'm forever appreciative of the team at Media City. The guys that look after Media City here are amazing, because they have helped Badger and Coombs become what it is. We've told them a lot that our success is their success. It's because they've supported the growth of us, of what we've born out of when we left Salford University, because obviously Salford University couldn't carry on through COVID doing what we were doing with them. So Media City took us into that and said, look, do it for all the talent in the north. Now bring it to us and stuff like that. And they've been massive supporters of what we do, and they've really, really appreciated that. And I think, having that belief in who you are and what you do and stuff like that is a massive driver to keep going. Do you know what I mean? And then, meeting people like yourself and all these amazing brains around here and sharing those things is huge. And that's why people need to be seriously thinking about coming to Media City to do it.
One of the things that all of us, I think, have in common, and obviously we've got a partnership with the University of Salford to put this on, and which is why we've got a graduate and a team and an undergraduate here as well.
Big up.
Is the brain drain, isn't it? We need to make sure that they see a career in here, and we as companies and organisations show them that the doors are open.
I'm not going to bash the BBC too much here. It might sound like I am, but I'm not. But what I will say is that it's quite interesting that the creative power is outside the main broadcasters. Do you know what I mean? When you look at the opportunities to be digitally creative to an audience, because the BBC has to serve a very wide-ranging audience
on a diminishing budget
of
in
media consumers. Yeah,
on a diminishing. We should point out that.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes those traditional broadcasters are so stuck in the traditional methods of production that they don't realise there's another way, or there's a more cost-effective way, or there's a more adaptable way of doing it. Because obviously, the Ofcom rules and regulations probably stipulate a lot of restraint and things that they can't do. You know, there's a lot of things in there, not inciting violence. You can accidentally incite violence quite easily without realising it, can't you? You know, somebody has an opinion about something and then all of a sudden, well, you can't, you've got to have a balanced opinion and all this sort of stuff. Sometimes in the digital space, you don't need to do that, which is fine. But I think there is a lot of opportunity for major broadcasters to capitalise and exploit the digital space a lot better than they're doing. When you look at why Radio Caroline became Radio 1, why 1Extra killed all the pirate radio stations. You know, there's a reason why mainstream media can take those things and use them to their advantage. And I just don't think that they're doing it as well as they could be, because I think the digital creativity and the digital technology is fast accelerating away from their ability to exploit it for the good of the mainstream media.
Before you have to rush back to your set, what's next for the Badgers?
So yeah, I don't know what I can talk about.
Where do you want the Badgers to be, I suppose?
Oh God, yeah. I'm desperate for growth, because we are taking on so many great, exciting clients and stuff like that, and I need to employ more people and stuff like that. And I'm really keen to bring in those clients that want to be with us for a long time and want us to be with them for a long time. So we've got some. I really want to talk about them, but I know I'll get told off if I do, because I've signed NDAs and everything.
Oh yeah, you will get told off in that case. Yeah,
I've had to sign NDAs and things, but how can I put it? One of them is a really technological advancement. If we pull it off, it will be the first time it's happened. So.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So yeah, it's really cool, but that's the beauty of it. Is like we're not afraid as a business to take on the challenge. So I think we want more companies to come to us with those challenges. You know, we come to us with the problem and let us figure out how we can be digitally creative with the solution. You know, because that's what MediaCity is all about. We are the ones here at MediaCity. There is more than just me and the Badgers here at MediaCity that have fantastic digital skill sets to bring to your products and your brands and stuff like this. You don't have to be a media company to live at MediaCity.
That is perfect, and it's like you'd scripted that one for the outro. Thank you ever so much for joining us on This Is MediaCity.
No, thanks for having me.
And I'm really excited to find out what's next, once the NDA has kind of disappeared.
Yeah. Once those are clear, then I'll tell everybody about, because that's the one thing we've got to do more. Tell everybody, and that's hopefully people will do that after listening to this.
This Is MediaCity is a 39 Pictures production on behalf of MediaCity and in partnership with the University of Salford, and all the team behind the camera are graduates and undergraduates from the university. We shall see you next week for yet another podcast, and remember, if you like, subscribe, comment, you will not miss out, and you can even go back into archive and see Peter Salmon, Lucy Meacock and so many others. We shall see you next Friday. The production team are Meg Bond, Tegan Easton, Akila Hewitt, James Young and Rose Lonsdale.